before I heard a question, and one of the questions was, I went to investors and I couldn't get them to invest. One of the most amazing things I've seen is when you go to investors and you say, so let's get in and let's have a chat about the idea of lead generation. So when I was 19 years old, I got the opportunity to drop out of university and go and work at a startup. And I worked for this guy here called John. And we didn't have a bank account, we didn't have a business name. I turned up at his beautiful home and he was basically saying, we're going to start this brand new business and I want you to kind of join my team. I was one of the rebels and misfits who joined his team right at the very beginning. And it was an exciting experience to have a mentor like that who could teach me so much about business when I was so hungry to learn. And John taught me so many things about life and about business. And over the next 2 years, from 19 to 21, we built that business from 0 to over $6 million in revenue. We built a team of 50 to 60 people. We went from a beachside location in his house to having an inner city Melbourne office. And it was an incredible opportunity to go through and see all of those steps. And as a 19 to 21-year-old, what happened for me is I got to sit in on meetings that normally 19 to 21-year-olds don't sit in. So I was in all the meetings of hiring and firing and marketing and sales and all of these different things, and it was very intense for those 2 years. But there was one lesson that we just kept coming back to again and again and again, the most important lesson, and John probably said this 1,000 times while I was working with him. He said this, he said, everything is downstream from lead generation. So what did he mean by that? What he meant is that if you have an amazing product and you've put so much energy and effort into this product and you've built this incredible product or service, let's say you're an incredible coach and you're so good when you're with a client one-to-one, but if you cannot generate a lead, then it doesn't matter how good the product or service is. It just doesn't matter at all. And then the flip side is that if you, for some magical reason, had thousands of leads coming in every single month, you can fix every other problem that comes downstream from that. You can improve the product. You can raise funding very easily if you've got lots of leads. You can hire salespeople. There's nothing easier when it comes to hiring salespeople than saying we've got lots of warm leads coming in and nobody's talking to them. Salespeople are like, wow, okay, can I come and join the team? So everything happens downstream from lead generation. So this lead generation piece is a critically important piece. Before I heard a question, and one of the questions was, I went to investors and I couldn't get them to invest. One of the most amazing things I've seen is when you go to investors and you say, we've got thousands of people expressing interest in this particular product and we just don't have the money to build what they want. That is almost like, whoa, okay, that's a big green flag for an investor. They're very interested in that. So what is a lead? A lead is just simply a signal of interest. It's when somebody reveals themselves and they say, hey, I'm interested in that. So online, it could be a name and an email address entering into a form. Maybe you run a little event and people book into the free event. Well, then they become a lead. Maybe you post something on social media and you ask people, are you interested in this? And they say, yes, I'm interested in this. Please send me the details. That person is a lead. Maybe you've got something on your website where people fill in a name and email address or something along those lines, or even it could be a button that just says email for more information. They drop you an email and say, hey, I'm interested. All of those are examples of leads. So it's somebody out there in the marketplace who reveals themselves as being very interested in whatever it is that you do. So it's a signal of interest. So when I was 21, John was packing his boxes into the car, and I come up and I say, hey, John, I've been with you for 2 whole years, which is a lot when you're 21. And I said, I've been with you for 2 whole years. Can I get shares in the business? And he turns around really pissed off and he goes, if you want shares in the business, go start your own business. All right, so I thought, oh, actually, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe I will. So I actually went off and I did. So at 21 years old, I launched my own business. I put an ad in the paper and I put $7,000 on my credit card. And basically, I ran my first ad to generate leads. So this ad, basically, it had a little 1-800 number, and people would read the ad, and then they'd ring the number, and they would actually say, I'm interested in attending that event, and they became a lead. So That was my very first ad, $7,000 on the credit card, and then that turned into a big business. So in year one, we ran that same ad 43 times in the paper. We ran introduction events. We generated lots and lots of leads. Every week, we were generating an average of 70 to 100 leads a week. We built a sales team. We did 1.3 million of revenue. We did 400,000 of profit. By year three, we were doing over $10 million a year in revenue, just lead generation, and the whole business was built around that ability to generate leads. No funding, no investors. We just went from a credit card to $1 million a month in 3 years. It was incredible. And then since then, I've built businesses around the world, and we've done all sorts of things for lead generation. We've run our own conferences. We've done email marketing and opt-in emails and things like that. We've done blogs. We've done social media, and we've done emails, and we've done cold calling and cold outreach. I've literally tried all the different things that are out there for lead generation over the years. One of the things that I've discovered is most forms of lead generation are what's called broadcast only. You're just putting something out there and you don't know much about the people who are reacting to it or who you're seeing. You just have a very general idea. And this was a bit of a problem because I didn't know when a lead came in, especially a name or an email, is this person the CEO of a NASDAQ listed company or is this my Uber driver? Like there was no way of knowing in between who each person was. And then something pretty extraordinary happened. 2015, I did the revised edition of Key Person of Influence, and in the book there's a method, the 5 Ps, and I thought, hey, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a quiz in the book so that if people want to take the quiz to see if they're ready to apply the method, then they'll be able to answer the questions on the quiz, and they'll be able to fill in all that data. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they fill it in online and I then capture all that data? So I get the name, the email, but if they answer 40 questions, I'm going to know exactly what each person does and what they're struggling with and what they're strong with. So I put this thing in at the last minute, and we just say, hey, go on here. There's a scorecard, and if you measure it, you'll be able to improve it. So start by doing this. So as soon as people type in that URL, what happens is it takes them to this little landing page, discover your influence score. You can see here when I screenshotted that, about 80,000 people had done it. It then says, okay, here's your name, email address, which country are you in? And then it says, answer these questions. And there's 40 questions, and you can see they're pretty simple yes or no questions. Can you articulate your business's big vision without people thinking it's strange? Have you written a blog, article, or report in the last month? If someone Googled your name, would they find most of page 1 is positive links featuring you? So these are just simple questions. People go through, they answer those questions. At the end, it tallies it all up and it attributes scores to each of them. And some of them are 1-pointers, some of them are 3-pointers, right? So behind the scenes, I've got like a point system. And then there we go, it gives them a little report. And at the end, if they scroll down, they can book themselves into a sales meeting to discuss their report, discuss how they did. Now this became pretty amazing because prior to this, I needed to hire Jerry Maguire as my salesperson because when you start with name and email, you basically have this problem of like, hey, tell me about yourself and all this sort of stuff. And people are busy. They don't want to just sit there and tell you random facts about themselves. So that you had to be really good on the phones in order to make a sale. But once we implemented this, we had this dashboard that showed all of the information about each person and how they scored, and we could see exactly how they answered every single question. So we had a very different conversation. When that phone rang and then that person picked up, we would say something along the lines of, hi, Chris, you took the Key Person of Influence scorecard yesterday. Your high score was for partnerships. It was 87%. Your lowest score was for 26% for pitching. And I'm wondering, are you interested in improving your scores? And every single person, of course, says some version of, yeah, I am interested in improving. They might say, I'm busy right now, but I am interested in improving, or they might say, yeah, I've been wanting to talk to you about it. But we got this incredible thing where people felt that it was personalized and also automated. It ended up generating 90,000 leads and 15 million pounds in sales. So it was absolutely extraordinary that people just came through and they loved the quiz. By the way, if there's one message you take away from this, people love a quiz. My goodness, do people love a quiz. So, you've seen these. They're all over the internet. They're everywhere. The NHS has got, how are you? They've got a mental health quiz. I went to a wealth company the other day. What's your money personality? The love languages. Who's done the love languages scorecard? Yeah, so you know your love language. My dad sent me his love languages the other day, which was kind of really cute. And he left me a long message about, hey, I've just found this thing called the 5 love languages, and I've learned about myself. It's kind of cute. He's not at all into gifts, which is really nice. He's words of affection. He loves to be praised.